you ready to be unleashed and unstoppable?
You're successful and stuck. Where are you burned out and standing in your own way? Are you ready to make your finances and your whole life work?
Are you ready to experience a breakthrough and step into your next level of leadership?
Living a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms, unapologetically.
You are where you are because of the way that you think. You are the creator of your reality. You are the creator of your thoughts.
This podcast is about discovering how to play big, how to be unleashed and unstoppable.
Through wiring in your success at the source as you step into your full potential as a wildly ambitious leader.
We are Alex Leanne Carter, founder and CEO of Ambition Unleashed, and Carol Register, founder and CEO of Success Uniquely Yours.
Let's get unleashed and unstoppable. Prior to getting started today, Carol and I were talking about why this is so important for us. Both Carol and I experienced burnouts, I think, multiple times of our careers. And we really looked at how this idea of needing to hustle really contributed to that. The hustle, the looking good, needing to work so hard, how our results were tied to our worth. And as Carol and I have gotten to know each other the last couple of years being Master Certified Neurocoaches, we've really leaned into what does it take to truly win your day? What does it take to really create the life and business that you truly desire to have and that you get to have without ending up overworked, overwhelmed, and burnt out in the process? How do you increase your focus? And of course, how do you then get into action? And get into action not to end up overworking yourself and find yourself on this path to burnout, but how do you really look at working smarter, really understanding the principles of wealth, understanding the principles of time, and understanding how you really get to step into your gifts and where it gets to be fun. And you end up going to bed at the end of the day feeling fulfilled, feeling happy, feeling excited, and feeling joy. So those of you who are not familiar with Carol and I, we are Master Certified Neurocoaches. We are known as confidence boosting, neurohacking, productivity, and wealth secrets divas. Let's call us divas. And we work with our clients who are very driven, very high achievers, who really want to create not only big impact in this world with what they are gifted to do and what they love to do, but also being able to do this without finding themselves on the path to burnout. Being able to live a life unapologetically on your own terms and waking up every single day and making that best day ever. So welcome, everybody. I'm excited to dive in. Carol, why don't you get us started today?
I would love to. I think that a lot of us have experienced burnout or are on the path to burnout. And we live in a hustle culture, right? We live in a culture that is constantly telling us that we have to grind in order to succeed. And maybe you heard that as a child. Don't be lazy, be responsible, get everything done. And if you're anything like me, then all of a sudden you're starting to think, I can't do this. This is too hard. This is impossible. I'm overwhelmed. I'm always struggling and holding myself back. And maybe success is meant for other people and not for me. And I'll tell you that Alex Leanne Carter and I play big. We do a lot of things. She's in a very, very challenging leadership program. She runs a large group of clients. She really leans into productivity and gets them from A to B. I am an international business owner and global investor, and we know what it takes to play big. And it is not by hustling. So one of the things we want to lean into this morning is identity and knowing who you are. And this may sound counterintuitive, but we know what works, right, Alex Leanne?
Yeah.
And it's really about laying the foundation for success. So what you've been experiencing with the overwhelm, the frustration, the not being able to delegate with your team well, whatever your symptom is, that's what it is. It's a result that's a symptom of a deeper problem. And so what we do in the Diamond Transformation is we go deep into who you are. And part of the reason we do that is because when you're in alignment with who you are, it really starts to line things up for you. Can anybody relate to any of these feelings where you're just feeling like it's always got to be the struggle? It's always got to be hard. Put a yes in the chat if you've experienced that or are experiencing that. Put a yes in the chat if you're having a difficulty focusing, if you're feeling like you're not good enough. Even though you've had a level of success, why are you stuck again? Put a yes in the chat if you're experiencing standing in your own way.
Like I said, you operate from this thought of you need to work hard to be successful. And the harder you work, the more that you hustle, the more successful that you become. If that lands with you, say yes in the chat too. That was my story. That's why I always that's always the top of mind for me, working harder to be successful.
That's right. And maybe you feel the doubt, the fear that you're not worth investing in. Maybe you feel like you're not worthy. Now I can tell you, whatever it is that's hurting for you right now, that's standing in your way, I definitely experienced feeling like I wasn't good enough and I wasn't deserving. I had tons of doubt and fear. I was abused and I often felt like I didn't matter. On top of that, I had major abandonment issues. So I felt extremely unworthy. Your story may be the same or different, but the feelings are the same. So if you know yourself well, if you feel like you know who you are deep down, put a W in the chat for well. And if you feel like you don't know yourself well, put an NW in the chat.
So what's really important to know is that when we're looking at winning our day, we look at the results that we're creating. This stems from our identity. And our identity is not something that you're just going to wake up and say, okay, this is who I am. See, over time, who you become is linked to your childhood, your experiences, the environment that you grew up in, the things that you heard, schooling, how you were told, right? Looping back to the story before about needing to work hard to be successful. And so at 90 to 95, and there's even some statistics saying that 97% of your results come from your identity, come from the thoughts, the experiences, the emotions that are going on in autopilot in the back of your mind. Yeah. And so looking at productivity, one saying that I'm often reminding my clients is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Yeah. The thing is, you are where you are today because of these automations, because of the stories, because of the patterns that have developed in your brain over time. And when you show up from this identity that you didn't necessarily define for you, you're running off of what everybody else expects of you, has defined of you, tells you what you should do, how you should act, how you should behave. That's how you start to operate. And that's how you start to show up. And so you find yourself maybe walking into a meeting or walking into a presentation or meeting with somebody, and you're already, prior to even walking in there, your brain is going crazy, all the monkey brain of all the things that maybe could go wrong, how people are judging you, how you're going to be criticized. And so you find yourself in these circles because now you're defining on how you show up based on the people outside of you, out of those external expectations. And instead of being connected with who you are and what's important to you, you show up running your life based on somebody else's vision expectations for you. A saying I remind my clients every single day, one of the first questions for myself as well, and for you, I'm inviting you to ask yourself every single day is, am I moving my vision forward or somebody else's? And the vision that you're moving forward, is it defined by what's important to you, your done success? Or is it defined by what somebody else has told you or what society has dictated should be your done success? Yeah. Now, those of you that did the pre-work, that is posted in the Facebook group, but if you haven't done it yet, I do invite you to go and do it. It's really getting connected with what does winning the day look like for you and what does your done success look like for you? Because when we're talking about high performance, and again, I'm going to speak into the side of productivity, and I know Carol's going to speak into the side of wealth. When we're looking at being productive and creating results, those results get to come from what it is we're going after. And if we don't have clarity on what it is that we're going after, if we're not clear on the done success and what your vision is, no wonder you can't focus. No wonder you can't delegate. No wonder you can't feel like you're moving things forward because you're not clear. The vision is foggy because you're experiencing inside of you a misalignment because you know what it is that you want. And you know what? You're showing up every single day and you're taking actions and making decisions based on what people are expecting of you. And I know that this was the key thing to my burnout that I experienced. And that's why it's something that I've really looked under and studied the high performance brain and productivity and what leads a high achiever thinking they're not productive enough. And what I learned is that high achievers tie so much of their worth to their work, and they define what they do and how quickly they work and the results that they create. And for them, it's the more results I create equals the more successful I am. And that's what Carol and I have learned, that when we can shift that perspective and detach ourselves from that and really lead by our identity and who it is that we get to be and how we want to be showing up. Yeah. And that what's important to us is happiness and joy. And it's not necessarily about the bigger house or the nicer car or the next best vacation. That's really about how do you feel at the end of the day.
Thank you, Alex. I love what you said there. And I want you guys, if as you so desire, I would invite you to participate, to engage with us, and to feel free to comment in the chat. This is meant to be interactive. And I really appreciate the fact that Alex is leaning into not living everybody else's plan for your life. Because from the time we're young, we are taught to seek everybody else's approval, not to trust ourselves. So when we talk to you about identity, we're not talking about the negative voices in your head and those limiting beliefs that you've been carrying with you over 90% since childhood. But we're talking about knowing who you really are, deep down in all your brilliance and your glory. And I just want to share with you, if you haven't heard this, it's a quote by Marianne Williamson. And she said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us, the divine within us, the universe, however you describe that. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So one of the things we want to share with you is it's really important to, when we're looking at the symptoms and the results we're experiencing, going back to our foundation. When you look around you, you are where you are right now because of the way you think. Somebody had a thought in their head about that chair you're sitting in. And then they went and had the design drawn. And then it was produced with the fabric or whatever you have on your chair. It started with a thought. So it's really by digging deep in specific ways to align ourselves with who we really are that we're able to produce consistently with calmness, with efficiency, with focus, those results that we're wanting to produce. And Alex, what would you like to speak into about us giving our power away?
Well, Carol, as I was listening to you speak, the saying came in my head is that you're one thought away from your biggest breakthrough. And so what does that next thought get to be? So when we're looking at producing our wealth and being productive to create our results, a lot of times what holds us back is, again, some of the thoughts that will be leaned into our identity. That's why when you can wake up every single day and step into who you are, I hear a lot of times, a lot of my clients, I know in the Diamond Transformation around not feeling confident or lacking courage or not feeling important or comparing ourselves to somebody else, right? The imposter syndrome. I talked about comparinitis, right? And so again, it's driven by the things that are outside of us, how other people see us or how we perceive other people see us. And then again, what we are now comparing ourselves to other people. And so when we're looking at being productive and creating wealth, we're letting, again, the external define what that is. Now, what wealth looks like for you and what wealth looks like for me is two different things. But how are you working hard to create that? Are you trying to create the wealth based on what other people expect of you? Or are you creating wealth based on what's important to you? Are you being productive to create results based on what is it truly is important to you or what's important to somebody else? Say, those of you that may not know me, I have a 22-month-old daughter. She has really supported me in shifting the way that I look at my time and creating money because I realize that she's the most important thing to me. And what I want to do is spend time with her. So thanks to working with Carol's really supported me in looking at how I look at time and money very differently to be able to do what I love to do, which is show up and serve and coach while also having time to spend with her to go to the park, go to the zoo and be there with her, connected and present. Yeah. I'd love to know in the chat if you find that your brain is so always thinking of so many other things that you need to do that it lacks your ability to focus. It lacks your ability to be present because you're always thinking about the next thing that you need to be doing. You think about all the things that you haven't accomplished. And so you're not actually being able to, you're there, but you're not really there because your brain is just operating and just thinking of all the things that you need to get done. So I'd love to know in the chat if that is you, because I know, especially when we're driven and we want to create an impact and we want to do things that we love to do. Of course, we actually love to work. I don't know about you, and I loved in the chat, you love what you do. We hope that you love what you do. I mean, honestly, if you could work all the time, you probably would in a way. And that's what happens with a lot of driven high achievers is because they love what they do. There's no kind of division or separation between creating results and also having time to recharge and do things that you love to do. That's when we look at winning the day. It's winning the day and what you love to do in your careers and your success, and winning the day in your relationships, in your money, with time with yourself, time to recharge your battery so you don't burn out.
For me, Alex, Leanne, and for many of you, tell me if you can relate to this, and definitely put a Y in the chat if you can relate to this. I was so busy thinking that I had to do everything that I wasn't productive. And really what it was I was living a life by default. I was not being intentional about my life. And that was a huge aha moment, that we can be intentional about our lives. And through the neuroscience process, Alex, Leanna, and I know that we can create the reality that we want and operate in that way. And it just really makes everything so much easier, right? So we really want you to not be sacrificing everything along the way. This is about gaining your power back, looking at what you're giving your power away to. Are you giving your power away to these limiting beliefs? Are you giving your power away to the comparisonitis? Are you giving your power away to the need for approval, to the doubt, to the fear? We all experience those things. One of the cool things that we get to do is we get to use a neuroscience-based process, which we're really going to speak more into tomorrow, to help you work with the way your brain works. And the exciting part of that is we use these tools every single day. So how many of you feel in your heart of hearts like you matter? Do you know that you matter?
Right. I matter in the chat.
Put it there. I want to know if you know, because knowing your identity, knowing that you are valuable and that you matter is fundamental to everything in your life, not just time and wealth. It will increase those things, but you will begin to see things increase in every area. And I just had a client tell me the other night who's gone through the program, and she said, I have done so many programs, and you know what has finally released for me? I feel for good. She said, I'm no longer anxious. I don't have any more anxiety. And all of my personal relationships have improved. So it's a matter of a rising tide raises all boats. We are integrated beings. And when we go to work on our foundation and to work in any one area, all areas begin to up-level. And those around us begin to up-level. You don't know what seeds you're planting in somebody else's life. And that shift, when you start to really invest in yourself and do this work, it's amazing what happens. Now, the exciting part of this is maybe you've heard of the have, do, be, do, have. Put a yes in the chat if you've heard of that. I would love to know. So the way our culture tends to operate, and this is from Gary Keller, he's a billionaire, real estate billionaire, is we tend to think we have to have things in order to do things, in order to be somebody. But here's the paradigm shift that's really cool. When you go into identity, you get to see that it's really about your being. So identity is where we start to learn how to create from who we are. And then our doing comes out of that place. And then we have things from the doing, from knowing who we are and creating things. So when we're talking about creating your reality, you really can do it. You really have that power. You really have that power to live intentionally.
And a lot of times, I was going to say about that piece is that oftentimes you're operating as a human doing. Like drop in the chat if you find that you do. Yeah. And you're like, the more that I do, the more I feel accomplished. So put doing if that's you. Yeah. The reality is you were born as a human being.
Yeah.
And that's why, and with Carol speaking into this, and we say it's a paradigm shift because society has taught you the more that you do, the more that you'll have, and then you'll create whatever it is that you're looking for. And we're leading into shifting that and working your way backwards.
Yeah.
And operating today as a person that you get to be to create whatever that is. Because it's the doing piece that will burn you out.
Yeah.
It's the doing piece is going to just have you continue to do. And leaning into the whole understanding what done success looks like for you, what win the day looks like for you. If you're not clear on what that is, you'll just keep doing and you'll keep chasing after something because you'll never be clear on what it is. And high achievers have this tendency to not be clear on what it is that they want.
Yeah.
Because again, of what society has defined. And that's what we lean into getting clear on what it is that you want. What does winning the day look like to you and your identity? I'd really love to know in the chat, as we're speaking into what does win the day look like for you? What does it actually look like for you? Like, how do you know when you've won the day?
I love that question because it really is about quick wins and long-term wins.
Yeah.
What we do in our program, you need those quick wins. Our brains are wired for reward. You need those to give you the momentum, and you need to be able to have consistent wins over time. Do you have a belief that who you are is getting in the way of who you want to become? Because the truth is, who you have become is getting in the way of who you've always been. So I want you to know that it's really about what's inside of you, what your power, being empowered. You have all the answers inside of you. And that's why being who you really are in that foundational manner is what we get to look at. And we get to dive in and how do you define success? Put a yes in the chat if you've defined success for yourself in detail. Because this is one of the things we do in the Diamond Transformation Program. And we give you a clear process to help you uncover your values, because we want you to be able to operate in alignment with who you are. And in fact, when we're not in alignment is where we often have the overwhelm, the frustration, the inconsistency, the not knowing we're worthy. That's when things start to come up for us because we're not operating from this fabulous foundation, right, of who we really are.
And I want to know, because I saw Jacqueline, when I asked the question before, like, what does winning the day look like for you? She said about accomplishing her to-do list. So I'd love to know who else says the same thing, that you're driven or you evaluate the success of your day based on how much you accomplished. Because I know that Jacqueline's not the only one. I see Ashley's nodding her head. I know that I was there too. And I still have days like that, 100%. And that's exactly what we're leaning into today and speaking into. It's that you're defining how you've won the day based on what you've accomplished. It's not about who you are. You're not relating to how you feel. You're tying your success, you're tying your winning the day, you're tying whether or not you achieved or you accomplished, which is a driver for high achievers based on what you did. Going back to the human doing, not the human being. And so we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes, and we're going to invite those of you to jump into the VIP room so we can help you define what success looks like to you. Help you get clear on what win the day looks like to you. Because if you don't get clear on that, you're going to continue to let the to-do list drive your decision-making, drive the way that you show up, letting your to-do list define your success. And you're going to find yourselves continuously just hustling to try to get more done because you're letting the doneness define your accomplishment versus being able to connect with what's really important to you. And I think what's really important also for us to lean into, Carol, is that your brain could potentially be keeping you safe. I saw Alex mention before that she's tried to, and she's having, some resistance there because your brain's actually wired to keep you in the safe and familiar. I talked about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah. That's your brain keeping you safe. Yeah. Because if it was really easy to do, you could already do it. Your brain's job is to keep you safe, which is where you are now. That's why you are where you are based on how your brain is operating. And so supporting you, being able to help you find any blind spots, asking you some deeper questions. I know that when Carol and I start working with our clients, we actually experience some resistance. We can see it, our brains causing that redirect because the brain doesn't want you to go deeper. And that's why it's so important to be able to have that information so that just like Carol said earlier, having that intention. So when you wake up, you have clear intention on your vision, what's important to you. And then you're empowered to own your confidence, own your voice, own your courage to, of course, say no to things that aren't aligned in that. Being able to delegate, being able to stay in your lane. And we're going to dive into more of that tomorrow to support you increasing your focus. But today we really want to support you in getting clear on what win the day looks like for you. What does your done success look like to you? And how do you do that?
We have some quick wins for you that Alex already mentioned or the pre-work mentioned in Facebook. And I just want to share, start today with asking yourself 3 simple questions to uncover who you are. Start small. Small changes bring big results. So ask yourself, what brings you joy? What brings you peace? And what brings you creativity? Joy, peace, and creativity.
And then from there, once you're clear on those 3 things, ask yourself, what does winning the day look like for you? How do you know when you've gotten to that success? Because most likely the answer to those 3 questions is going to support you in getting there. And we invite you to put the answers in the Facebook group.
Thank you for being here. We're super excited to see you tomorrow and to serve you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alex Carter and Carol Register. Head on over to winyourday.ca to register for our upcoming 3-day event taking place June 20th to 23rd. Win your day. Get out of your own way to create more time and financial freedom to do the things you love. Well, that's all for this episode, Wild Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.